Paradise by Edna O'Brien, Part 4. Dear Mother, it's not that kind of relationship. Being unmarried installs me as positively as being married, and neither installs me with any certainty. Yes, it is a beautiful house, but staying here is quite strange. You could easily get filleted. Friends do it to friends. The food is good. Others cook it, but I am responsible for each day's menu. Shopping takes hours. The shops have a special smell that is impossible to describe. They are all dark so that the foodstuff won't perish. An old woman goes along the street in a cart selling fish. She has a very penetrating cry. It is like the commencement of a song. There are always 6 or 7 little girls with her. They are all have pierced ears and wear fine gold slippers. Flies swarm around the cart, even when it is upright in the square. Living off scraps and fish scales, I expect. We don't buy from her. We go to the harbor and buy directly from the fishermen. The guests, all but one woman, eat small portions. You would hate it. All platinum people. They have a canny sense of self-preservation. They know how much to eat, how much to drink, how far to go. You would think they invented something like Shakespeare. So proprietary are they about his genius. They are no fools, not by any means. There is a chessboard of ivory, and it is so large it stands on the floor. Seats of the right height are stationed around it. Far back in my most distant childhood, Mother, I remember your nightly cough. It was a lament, really, and I hated it. At the time, I had no idea that I hated it, which goes to show how unreliable feelings are. We don't know what we feel at the time, and that is very perplexing. Forgive me for mentioning the cough. It is simply that I think it is high time we spoke our minds on all matters. But don't worry, you are centuries ahead of the people here. In a nutshell, they brand you as idiot if you are harmless. They are jungle laws which you never taught me. You couldn't. You never knew them. Well, I will bring you a present. Probably something sweet. He says the needlework here is appalling and that things fall to pieces, but you can always have it remade. We had some nice china jelly molds when I was young. Whatever happened to them? Love, me. Like the letter to the doctor, it was not posted. She didn't tear it up or anything. It just lay in an envelope, and she omitted to post it from one day to the next. This new tendency disturbed her, this habit of postponing everything. It was as if something vital had first to be gone through. She blamed the swimming. The day the pool was empty, she missed her 3 lessons. She could hear the men scrubbing, and from time to time she walked down and stood over them as if her presence could hurry the proceedings and make the water flow in one miracle burst. He saw how she fretted. He said they should have had 2 pools built. He asked her to come with them on the boat. The books and the suntan oil were as she had left them at last seen them. The cliffs as intriguing as ever. Hello, Cliff. Can I follow you? She waved merrily. In a small harbor, they saw another millionaire with his girl. They were alone, without even a crew, and for some reason it went straight to her heart. At dinner, the men took bets as to who the girl was. They commented on her prettiness, though they had hardly seen her. The water filling the pool sounded like a stream from a faraway hill. He said it would be full by morning. Other houses had beautiful objects, but theirs was in the best taste. The thing she liked most was the dull brass chandelier from Portugal. In the evenings when it was lit, the cones of light tapered towards the rafters, and she thought wood smoke and the wings of birds endlessly fluttering. Votive. To please her, he had a fire lit in a far-off room simply to have the smell of wood smoke in the air. The watercress soup that was to be especially tasted like salt water. Nobody blamed her, but afterward she sat at the table and wondered how it had gone wrong. She felt defeated. On request, he brought another bottle of red wine, but asked if she was sure she ought to have more. She thought, he doesn't understand the working of my mind. But then, neither did she. She was drunk. She held the glass out. Watching the meniscus letting it tilt from side to side, she wondered how drunk she would be when she stood up. Tell me, she said, what interests you? It was the first blunt question she had ever put to him. Why? I'm interested in everything, he said. But deep down, she said. Discovery, he said, and walked away. But not self-discovery, she thought. Not that. A neurologist got drunk and played jazz on the chapel organ. He said he could not resist it. There were so many things to press. The organ was stiff from not being used. She retired early. Next day she was due to swim for them. She thought he would come to visit her. If he did, they would lie in one another's arms and talk. She would knead his poor worn scrotum and ask questions about the world beneath the sea where he delved each day, ask about those depths, and if there were flowers of some sort down there, and in the telling he would be bound to tell her about himself. She kept wishing for the organ player to fall asleep. She knew he would not come until each guest had retired because he was strangely reticent about his loving. But the playing went on and on. If anything, the player gathered strength and momentum. When at last he did fall asleep, she opened the shutters. The terrace lights were all on, the night breathlessly still. Across the fields came the laugh from the sea, and then the sound of a ship bell, tentative and intercepted. Even a ship recognized the dead of night. The lighthouse worked faithfully as a heart beat. The dog lay in the chair asleep, but with his ears raised. On other chairs there were sweaters and books and towels, the remains of the day's activities. She watched and she waited. He did not come. She lamented that she could not go to him on the night she needed him most. For the first time, she thought about cramp. In the morning, she took 3 headache pills and swallowed them with hot coffee. They disintegrated in her mouth. Afterwards, she washed them down with soda water. There was no lesson because the actual swimming performance was to be soon after breakfast. She tried on one bathing suit, then another. Then, realizing how senseless this was, she put the first one back on and stayed in her room until it was almost time.